This is the way we'll do it tonight. Since it is New York Shakespeare, we'll start with the New York-based company, which is the Gallery Players. They're based in Brooklyn. Let's switch over to that image, and we will find out about them and the production that they have coming up this week, their version of Hamlet. The Gallery Players, as far as I'm aware, they do a production of Shakespeare, I believe, once a season, as I think that they call it their Players Shakespeare, and we'll find out more. Let's see if we can have that team join us tonight. Let's see here if we can. Oh, I have to close this out first. If everyone's hearing me okay, if everyone's everything's copacetic so far, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're hearing me, that everything's all right. And let's see if I can ask these guys to join us over here. Let's close that out. Okay, here we go. Here is James Dean Palmer. I'm sorry. I had a bit of brain fog there. Okay, so Gallery Players. Let's see if we can. All right, so we were asking the Gallery Players. Hello.
Hi, Rodney.
Hi, how are you? James and Myah, correct?
Sorry, we just want to make sure we can hear you.
I can hear you just fine.
Great.
We can hear you great.
Fantastic. Now, you are the co. Why don't you introduce yourselves? I mangled your names. I apologize for it. Go ahead.
I'm Myah Shein. I'm one of the co-directors of Hamlet.
I'm James Dean Palmer. I'm the other co-director.
Okay, so guys, tell me first about the Gallery Players. Now, where are you guys right now? You're in Brooklyn you're at the Gallery Players right now?
No, we are in Brooklyn. We are in our house.
Okay, so the Gallery Players has been a theater that's been running in Brooklyn for many, many years now. How many years have they been around? Any idea?
They started in 1967, but they moved to their home in Park Slope in 1989.
Okay, so they've been on the scene for quite a long time. And how long have you been involved with them, the two of you?
About 4 years now.
This is our third.
It's our third
show.
Yeah.
Okay, and is this the first time that you are co-directing together, or is this a regular phenomenon for you?
We've been collaborating for
About 6, yeah, we've been working together for about 15 years. My background's in dance. I'm originally a dancer and a choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
James is a director, and we have been working together sort of in those roles interchangeably, I would say, over that time. But this is the first, I think, official co-directing.
Okay, so one of the things I talked about a little bit at the top of the show is about how New York is still in this state of recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, and that's changed the calculus for all of us about how we go about our business, how business is conducted, how theater presents their performances. How has this process been for you of trying to get a new show up on the boards, but there are no boards to put them on? The environment has changed. You have to do it. Everything is in a digital format. Everything is mediated by the camera. Tell us about the process of how this all came about.
Well, since March 16th, when the shelter-in-place order came, we've done this is our second production, our second digital production.
Really?
We were working on a devised piece with NYU, and in the middle of devising it, found out that the theater was going to be closed. So we scrambled. NYU had a lot of resources, and one of the things we did during that show that was a game changer was, rather than doing a Zoom play, doing a play on Zoom, we brought on board a broadcast technician named Romo Hallahan. He's a brilliant technician and designer, and allowed us to do so much more with that production than one could do with the functionality of Zoom. And we knew going into this production that it was critical to have him, and fortunately the Gallery Players, who, like all theaters, have shut their doors and have no ticket sales coming in to support them. They were committed to this show. They brought Romo on board to be the broadcast technician, and that opened up a lot of doors for us. Mm-hmm. Because the biggest challenge you run into, I think, in this format is how do you create a sense of liveness?
Right.
Even with Zoom, it still feels like there's a lack of energy transference between performer and audience. And
right.
Just having that additional functionality that the broadcast software allows us to do creates a stronger sense of that. And as directors, it allows us to shift focus and get more detailed in storytelling, so you're not just looking at little boxes the whole time.
So why don't you expand on that a little bit? Tell us about what exactly it is that this new format allows you to do that a traditional Zoom can't do.
Well, I mean, I've been saying this, I hope this isn't too nerdy, but one of the biggest tools that
James,
directors...
this whole broadcast is all Shakespeare nerd to the
Great.
to the 10th power. So anyone who's watching this has a strong level of Shakespeare nerdiness in them. Go for it. Knock us out.
Well, one of the chief tools that a director has at their disposal is focus. I can get an audience to look at two people standing off stage left. I can get them to zoom in on someone's finger. I know how to do all of this stuff on stage. In Zoom, when you're just looking at a dozen or so boxes, it's really, really hard to tell an audience where to look.
Right.
The broadcasting software is just like the broadcasting software you find in live television. Mm-hmm. We can switch cameras. We can bring up two cameras. We can, spin. We can do fade in, fade out. We can have B-roll. We can set up shots within shots. There was an article in the New York Times that broke my heart where they said that Zoom will never replace theater, and Zoom will not. This digital stuff will not replace theater, but in this moment when everyone is socially distanced, if we build a new digital platform, if we actually find or craft software that's designed for this, we can maintain that tradition of storytelling and bringing people together even when we feel so far apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's amazing things also happening with this. Like, we're working with colleagues who are all over the country right now, and to be able to think about, like, we can bring in somebody who's in Florida with somebody who's in Albany to collaborate and like to really get the right people in the room is a luxury, I think, in this moment that it doesn't always happen. Working with our design team and really allowing them to just like dream and be bold and not be restricted by resources, because like there sort of are no resources. Their resources are our actors' homes and their closets and their families and their family car. And it's really a performance that couldn't exist in a different format. And it's intimate and it's personal, and it is satisfying in that way.
And also to say, going back to the software, another issue that you run into with Zoom is latency or lag. You have, unless you're dealing with really good equipment, you have grainy video quality, spotty audio quality, bandwidth issues. Going directly into broadcasting software circumvents some of that. Romo fortunately has a supercomputer which can process all of this stuff quickly and send it out. So essentially, for the NYU show, we had 13 actors, coast to coast, a few out of the country, all turning their homes into broadcast studios. And it's the same for this. We've really taken over 6 homes across the country, and they're all their own individually functioning broadcast studios. And thanks to Romo and the software, we can run it just like you would in a broadcast studio or a live broadcast of Broadway play.
Now you said a lot of interesting stuff there.
Maybe we
I'm sorry?
It doesn't feel like you're watching a play on Zoom.
That's a great thing that you're striving for. Is absolutely you hit it on the head. There are so many companies that are presenting Zoom productions, and it's great. The more the merrier. I was saying in one of the previous broadcasts that it's kind of like the best of times, the worst of times. Of course, it's the worst of times. We don't have our stages, we don't have our audiences, but in a way, it's the best of times because there's such a plethora of performance being done, and there's so much, and there's such a diminution of limitations of geography, of some of the physical things you talked about, where you're not limited by proximity. They don't have to be right there in your rehearsal space. They can be 6 states away. They can be wherever they are, as long as they have their camera that's as if they're with you there. And so there's this burst of creativity that's happening as part of that. And I'm really excited to see what your brand of that is with this software you're talking about. So you also hit on something there that I was very curious about. Now we see a lot of different variations of Hamlet and, you know, the different Shakespeare productions. In this production, you have, I believe, 6 actors, right? And it's an all-female cast. Okay, so talk to us about that. Talk about that. I mentioned at the top of the show also that in a previous season here in New York, something that was kind of eye-catching for me was that there were 2 female-fronted Hamlets in New York, and I think maybe in the past season, after that there was I think from the Red Bull Theater there was a female version of Macbeth with 6 females or 5 females. So talk to us about your 6 female Hamlet and how that all works out.
It came out organically. First, I would say our Hamlet, Aliana Rowe, she is extraordinary. She just graduated from Fordham, and I feel like we're getting a chance to work with her like before, you know, she really takes off. And she was James's student, and this is actually our 2nd time doing Hamlet with a woman in that role. And he knew it all semester. He was like, I've got to see this girl do Hamlet. And so that was sort of, and then so then when Gallery approached us, that was sort of a jumping off point. And I think for James in particular, this story about a family and a father and a son and a father and a mother and the betrayal and the gaslighting and the like loyalty, questions of loyalty, were really at the core of what he wanted to explore when he did this cutting. And so paring it down to kind of the core characters and a bit of doubling, I feel like allows us to really get inside of that story and ask those questions. And in terms of it being 6 women, I mean, again, I think that was sort of an organic choice when we were thinking about who are the people who we want to spend the next month staring at our screens with and have, you know, in this really tumultuous moment, you know, as the cards have kind of fallen here this spring. And it was these 6 women, I think, who really drove it. And the thing that we're finding is it inside of the play is that we can ask these questions about masculinity, about, you know, fathers and sons, and what is that, and kings and leaders and all of that. These women can really get inside of it without having to claim that story necessarily, but to take ownership of the unearthing of it. Yeah, I can keep talking. Yeah, I think for us it's less about what happens when Hamlet's the story of a woman, and more about what dualities, you know, can exist within this production when we let these women just like loose to really tear these roles open.
And that, you know, I mean, in Shakespeare's time, it wasn't about verisimilitude. Ophelia was never meant to be played by a woman. It was always played by a man. There's something I find thrilling about reclaiming this play and saying roles that have historically been, women haven't been allowed, even though there's a long history of women playing Hamlet, women haven't been allowed to play. They're taking ownership of it. Why not have a troupe of women perform the show? And because we're doing it in their homes, there is no I mean, we can't build the same castle in every single home. So there's an element of theatricality. We're all putting on costumes from our closet to play these roles. So why hamstring us by sticking to traditional understandings of gender norms? It's been a really thrilling process and a great room.
Yeah. I also just want to say our cast is so extraordinary. All 6 of them are amazing. Our design team, Dominique Fonhill, Chris Felix, and of course Roma Hallahan. This is such a singular production, and we really it wouldn't be the same without them.
So talk to me about, you talk about a lot of exciting things that come with this new model of presenting a Hamlet production. Talk to us about some of the challenges. What are some of the unexpected ways that you've been pushed and had to overcome something new that was unexpected?
I think the thing that people don't anticipate when they're working on Zoom, when you're building a full production on Zoom, is that it is at the very least 3 times as hard as doing it in an actual theater. You think that I don't know, I guess in my head I thought, oh, this might be a little easier, but it's so much harder. I mean, the first one is, going back to that energy transference. I mean, we feel it here. I'm projecting to glass, and you're getting a remanufactured sound coming back. So the actors have to work twice as hard to be kinesthetically related to each other and to listen actively. And you have to modulate your voice for the technology. So on that end, there's a lot of work that goes into it. But then the other side of it is these are actors who are trained to act, and suddenly I'm asking them to consider their camera shot, to change their lighting, to build props, to curate their own costumes. And it is really taxing in that sense. And that, I think, has been the greatest challenge.
I would also say for myself, and I'm sure this is true for you and probably for your listeners, viewers, there is a limitation around, I think, us as humans, our ability to watch something that's being live streamed time-wise, duration-wise. And I think, great production, a live production of Hamlet, you can watch for 3.5, 4 hours, and it's not the same on Zoom. And so the cutting has that part's hard. Last night we were up and we've already trimmed it so much, and we just know for this one thing we were really trying to get it, and it just involved like cutting pages of text, but ultimately it's going to make this the best show it can be, but it is sad because the language is so amazing.
Right, and having been in those shoes, that can feel sacrilegious to cut not just a little bit of Shakespeare, not just the minor characters, but big chunks of Shakespeare. It's you almost feel like you're sinning before Stratford upon Avon, but you have to do what you have to do to fit the time scale of what your production needs to be. So what's the running time of the show? About an hour and a half, 2 hours?
90 minutes.
90 minutes. Okay. All right. So why don't you tell us all where we can check out your production?
Go to galleryplayers.com, or .org? Galleryplayers.com. Yeah, go to galleryplayers.com and you can click on the Hamlet link. You can find them on Facebook and on Instagram as well. And the tickets are free. We run from the 16th through the 24th. So
make a reservation. They will send you a link to view the performance in video.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, guys. Well, listen, I look forward to the production. I wish you all the best. I'm excited to see what you make of it, and it should be a really great show. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight, and we'll be in touch soon.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much. All right, so we just spoke with James Dean Palmer and Myah Shein, co-directors of the production of Hamlet from the Gallery Players based in Brooklyn. So you can check that out. That runs from, as of July 16th. That's later this week. And you can go to galleryplayers.com, or you can check them out on their social media at The Gallery Players. I believe it has a "the" in there. But that should be really exciting. Now we'll go on to the second guest of our